6:33 on January 5th, 2026. Calling to order the Newmarket Budget Committee public hearing for both the town and the school budget, and start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do a quick roll call. Chris Blackstone.
Here.
Scott Foster.
Here.
Brian Ward.
Here.
Jeff Boyd.
Here.
Danielle Honan.
Here.
Justin Looser.
Here.
Carl Blackstone.
Here.
And I, Brian Rowley, am here. Going to open the public forum, seeing a number of folks in the audience here. Let's see if there are any questions or comments to start the. Okay, and receiving no questions or comments, we'll close the public forum at 6:34. And today we'll be getting walked through the town and school budgets, and we'll also be getting an update from Steve on the capital reserve fund guidance from the DRA, which I think we all got a memo from. So, Steve?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So first I'm going to discuss, which we need to do at the beginning of the budget. Now it's not working. Why is this? Sorry, guys. Okay. First topic is everyone received a memo from me regarding a letter we received from our town attorney about our capital reserve funds. When the charter amendments were being reviewed, whenever amendment to the town charter has to be put forward, it has to be signed off by the Attorney General's office, Secretary of State's office, as well as the Department of Revenue Administration. When the charter commissions proposed amendments, which are not too huge, actually probably impacts this board the most by reducing the number of members, but one of the things that they looked at was our section of the charter 5.4, which we put in place in 2015, which was a long-standing practice that we included all the contributions to our capital reserve funds in the operating budget. In 2017, the legislature amended RSA 35.5, which requires appropriations to capital reserve made through special warrant articles. Let me just clarify that we were not doing anything illegal. It was done legally. We had our charter amendment. Everything was done, approved by DRA the first time. They changed the law after the fact. And there was a number of municipalities with charters that had this impact as well. I could tell you also that during the time when they did the testimony on amending that RSA 35.5, the gentleman who worked for DRA, who was head of the municipal bureau, said that it was not their intention to have that impact those towns that have charters. So at that time, we didn't think that. Well, whoever gets to determine the law is the person in the seat, and they determined that, oh, no, there's nothing in the law that says that charter communities are exempt. So what we need to do is we need to make a motion to amend the budget, and since it's in the hands of the Municipal Budget Committee now, since it's already gone through the council, it has to come from the Budget Committee, to reduce the operating budget $1,348,203, which would result in a operating budget of $18,439,005, when they're standing that the town council will introduce a special warrant article to appropriate these funds in compliance with RSA 35.5. Wednesday night, the council has a warrant article to do so. If they don't pass it, which is their prerogative anyways when it comes to warrant articles, then none of the contributions to our capital reserve funds will be going through. And that would be significant when we have some number that have leases pay through there. The road paving goes through there. We used to have, some equipment purchases through there. So it would be significant if it did not pass. However, if we don't withdraw it and do it this way, DRA could disallow that portion of the budget. They have the right to do so. And we don't have the right to appeal any decision of the DRA. State law says that they're the final arbiter as it comes to municipal finances. So that could impact our tax rate, our financing, planning, and critical infrastructure investments. So basically, is it going to impact the tax rate? No. It will a little bit, because what we're doing is we're taking we're taking $505,000, $1.3 million of the capital reserves off that, put it in the warrant article. We're going to withdraw that from fund balance, which we were already doing, but we're actually going to be withdrawing more. We were doing originally $505,000. Now we'll be doing $624,000. We also have to take out the water and sewer capital reserve contributions, but those will still be paid through the ratepayers. So it does not impact the tax rate, and we'll actually see a reduction in our tax rate by 49 cents over the last year because of this moving of the funds. So it's an additional about $100,000 that will be coming from fund balance. One of the reasons why we always use fund balance for capital reserves was for situations like this, that if something would hit our operations, that we just wouldn't contribute to capital reserve funds and leave the fund balance where it was. So it's not where we want to be, but this is what legal counsel recommends, and this is the easiest path forward is for the budget committee to amend the operating budget by $1,348,203. And we'll have the line items. We have all the line items there. So,
excellent. Well, Steve, thank you for that overview. And so it would be incumbent on us to make the motion and make the vote if that's something we want to do. And so that 1,348,203 is the aggregate of these three line items down here from general fund reserves, water, and sewer. Are there any questions or comments for Steve? Yeah, Chris?
Hi, thanks, Steve. I
Yeah.
have two.
Sure.
This is complicated.
Yes.
You've done a great job of explaining it. We can read it and digest it a little bit. In order to help it get through the phase past Wednesday when it goes to Joe Public, what kind of communication do you have in mind to let people know what this is about?
I'm already working on basically a voter's guide that they can see not only this article, but all of them and what's going on. I'm going to work with the media department to do just some quick hits too on each individual article, especially the bigger ones like this one, to explain why we need to do it and why it needs to be approved. I think one of the best is if we get a unanimous recommendation from both, because what will happen now is if the council unanimously approves it on Wednesday, it'll come back to you on next Monday, so you would make your recommendation that day.
Thank you. And my second question, I can have the second. My second question is, you say we were not the only municipality that got this bulletin. I'm not asking who else got it, but I'm just curious, in your professional role, were you able to figure out, was it like a blast email that went to X, Y, and Z at once, or did this town get it, and then, this town got it, and oh my gosh, this town got it?
I could tell you we got it first. So I called one of my colleagues who I'm good friends with and said, hey, I know you do it the same way. Mm-hmm. Because we got an email about the day later, but they coincidentally they didn't do it this year.
Oh.
So they were okay. But yes, we're not the only. We believe there was just two. We have a listserv, a group of just all the towns that are councils. Mm-hmm. So there's 8 of us that talk. So, yeah, and most of the other ones have either they don't have a budgetary town meeting any longer. So Derry and Durham do not. So everything goes through the council, or the rest still have a traditional budgetary town meeting without the provisions of RS 35.5. Like we used to do.
Gotcha. So your voter's guide is going to have this and that and this and that.
Explain why. Yep.
Gotcha.
And the problem is, and I know a lot of people have asked this in the past, is can we put the explanation on the ballot, which we cannot.
Right.
The ballot has to be very clear, and we can't even hand out that because it's considered politicking.
Politicking at the poll, right?
Yep.
Right.
Just add on, it just basically said that we can't influence people saying like, hey, this would be really, really good. So if we were to even like a little bit too positive, too negative, that would be undue. So that's why we can't. Just make it that.
And so Steve, this might be obvious, but this is, until the rules change, the new normal. So as
Yeah.
the new budgets are formed and stuff, we would be taking this approach.
The Charter Commission is going to meet tomorrow and try to get an amendment in to fix it on our charter. They got to see if they can make the deadlines through DRA. Legal counsel's been discussing that with the Attorney General's office and the agencies at the state to let them know it's coming, so we can try to fix it as part of the process.
Anybody have any other questions or concerns? Everybody feel like they understand the ask and the,
And I could just, one more follow-up if you don't mind. I just
Yeah,
want to
of
tell
course.
how serious this is. And I can tell you the department heads were very concerned after this.
I bet.
Especially that, being part of the operating budget, it's not that anybody was trying to hide money or do anything like that. We've always said this is our contribution to capital reserve funds. But understand that when you put it on a separate warrant article, no means no. So if this falls, and if these are ever voted down, then some of our operations will cease. Because we've always done it, this is the way we've been approved in the past. My office is going to actually contact our legislative delegation to see if they can get a bill in this year to correct it for the 8 communities that it impacts versus the other 222 that are out there. It's just an oversight, we think.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think you're spot on. That's an important message to stress because we see all the benefits that come too, especially on this committee, from having a good capital reserve plan. So,
Well, and a lot of folks are understandably worried about their tax dollars and
Yep.
where they go, and every time they vote yes, do my tax dollars go up because of that? And this, unfortunately, is going to, that's one of those friction points that we're
Mhm.
going to have to make sure communication is out there in front of.
Does your voter's guide have to go through review? You must have people reading it for you, but it
Our
doesn't have to
legal
go
counsel.
to the town
No,
attorney.
no, that's
or-
just in-house.
It's just an in-house
Yeah.
thing for Joe Public,
Yep.
for the town people. Okay.
Brian?
Yep. Do you have any idea if it does get voted down? Do you have any idea what kind of things would be shut down? Like what kind of?
We'd have to look at purchase of equipment.
Mhm.
One of the big things for next year was the 300th anniversary celebration would be short a significant amount of money because we upped that this year because of the upcoming celebrations. That would be, I think we put an additional 10,000 in, which would increase that by a third. So there'd be out money there that we couldn't spend because no means no. So the town couldn't give them any additional funds. Equipment for dispatch would be impacted. Master plan money would be impacted because that's there. Like I said, purchase of public works, fire equipment, those kind of items.
Thank you.
So if there are no more questions from the committee, no more clarifications, would there be a motion to move to reduce the fiscal year 27 operating budget by $1,348,203, representing the general fund, water and sewer contributions to the capital reserve funds, resulting in a total operating budget of $18,439,005, with the understanding that the town council will introduce a special warrant article to appropriate these funds in compliance with RSA 35.5.
I will make the motion.
All right, motion by Brian Ward, second. Seconded by Scott Foster. And all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So unanimous approval by the Budget Committee.
Thank you.
And that amendment is all set. So thank you, Steve. And if you don't mind then taking us through the...
Sure, now as part of the public hearing. As I always do, I just continue with the slides. I'd like to give an update of where the economy is when we started the budget process back in July. One of the things we always look at is the unemployment rate. We are seeing that tick up a little. Actually, nationwide, that went down from 4.5 to 4.2. The state went from 2.9 to 3.1. The county, 2.9 to 3. Metro Portsmouth, 2.5 to 2.9. Newmarket itself was up to 2.7. That number at 2.7% is negligible. It's pretty much zero, because that could just be a fluctuation of somebody lost their job or seasonal employment at that time. So we're still low when it comes to the unemployment rate. The next is the Consumer Price Index. You can see the hyperinflation we had after the pandemic of the CPI being up 8.5, 7.3, and 7% for the United States, Northeast Regional, and Boston. We are actually leveling that out for our inflation, with the United States being up 2.7% in July, Northeast Regional at 3.2%, as well as Boston at 3.2%. While I'm saying it's leveling out, those big years impact that a lot. That's why we still hear the cost of inflation. It's just not going up as fast as it was in the past. And just the town comparison to the tax rate. The fiscal year tax rate, 72% of that went to schools. You had $12.85 go to the local school, $1.11 to state school. 3% is what we raised for the county, and where my portion, or the town's portion, is 25% at $4.87 per thousand. And that's just the 5-year tax rate comparison. Sorry, I used all blue. It doesn't come out that well on this screen. The middle one, the one at the bottom one, is the first one is the town. As you can see, it stayed pretty level. The big differences between 23 and 24 is that's when we had a revaluation. And this is our assessed valuation of the town. Assessed valuation of the town this year is $1,725,850,442, up from $1,723,789,642. So what's the importance of that? For every dollar on the tax rate, we're able to raise $1,725,850. That's what represents $1 on the tax rate. As you can see, in 2003, that was before the revaluation, we're just over $1 billion, and we added almost 3/4 of that since then to our assessed valuation. So now, this is to go with the numbers that you just approved. The operating budget we're proposing is at $18,439,005, a revenue budget of $10,508,017, operating budget growth of 2.62%, for an estimated tax impact of $4.71, which is a 49-cent decrease from what we originally thought, but that's wrong chart. I'm sorry there. The operating budget, as you can see, at the $1,348,203, that's the difference that you just amended, plus the $505,000 from the revenue that is going to offset some of that. So where's it go? 64% of the operating budget goes to the general fund, which is $11.9 million. That is general operations. It's easier to go through what the other ones are, so you don't have to outline that. Special revenue funds is at a little under $2.2 million at 12%. That is your recreation revolving fund, the library, and the solid waste fund. The library we put in special revenue funds because it's a separate budget that we don't have control of the bottom line. It's not that they get a different source of revenue, it's just that that's in a different budget item. And finally, the enterprise funds, which is a little under $4.4 million at 24% of the operating budget, which is water and sewer. That is not paid through taxation, that's paid completely through the ratepayers. And where does the money go? I don't think you're going to be surprised. 57% of the operating budget, or a little over $10 million, goes to salary and benefits. Operating expenses is at $6 million at 33% of the budget, and our debt service is $1.8 million, or 10% of the budget. So where's the increase going this year? Healthcare, we're seeing a $207,840 increase. Last year, we approved a one-time adjustment for the police to correct some issues that we're having for retention. The implementation of that is $439,904. The New Hampshire retirement contributions are going to be going up $101,403. And the fire department per diems, we're increasing $100,000. The per diems is the system that we've been using to have more station coverage and not relying completely on volunteers. It's been working out very well, knock on wood, because we're still getting people from other fire departments to come in and cover for us instead of having full time. The town council last year, and we are just starting that now, are studying the fire department with Municipal Resources, Inc. to get us ready. What can we expect in the next 10 years, not only for Newmarket, but what the the fire service is going to look like, and things that we may need to face coming up. Our fire department is run very lean for a community of our size. I talk to people around the state, and they're amazed that we only have 2 full-time firefighters for a town of 10,000 people. So these are the potential warrant articles. When I say potential, most except the bottom one has been approved by and recommended by the town council. First, it authorizes up to $100,000 for the to create a long-term wastewater master plan, expecting 100% principal forgiveness, so no tax or sewer rate impact. This will require a 2/3 vote because it's actually our loan from the state revolving loan fund. The next would be Cushing Road and Lumberland Drive stormwater improvements. It approves up to $1.4 million in bonds for stormwater upgrades to reduce runoff and improve water quality. It includes $216,000 in state revolving fund forgiveness, requires 2/3 vote, and will affect the tax rate and needed for approval. If approved, 2/3 is needed for approval, and it will affect the tax rate. The next is the water system upgrades for lead and copper compliance. Authorizes bonding for required upgrades to meet state and federal rules. It's funded through the state revolving loan fund with $112,000 in forgiveness and no impact on the tax rate. Water rates will change. The next is the acquiring a 16.3 acre easement on the Rosa property for open space and habitat protection. The total cost is $402,000, $145,000 from taxes, and the remainder from grants and donations. The estimated tax impact is 8 cents per $1,000. The next is to allocate $100,000 for storm and coastal resiliency planning at Shanda Park, funded via bonds and notes in a possible SRF forgiveness. No tax impact and requires 2/3 vote. That's going to be coming out of a capital. This would be coming out of a capital reserve fund. Police union negotiations. We finalized that, and I did not put that on there. We do have a police union contract. We have a 3-year agreement with increase of 3% each year. I don't have the number in front of me. I apologize for that. I'll get that for next week, but just giving you a heads up. The next one is to rescind Fund 7, which is the Special Revenue Solid Waste Fund, the one we were just discussing. Problem is, we have never covered the cost of our solid waste program through the sale of the pay-as-you-throw bags in Newmarket. We've always subsidized it through taxation at some point. Our auditors for a number of years have said, stop that, we should really have that as part of the general fund and using that as a revenue source to offset it. And this is going to fix that. This also gets us ready in the next few years. Our collection system will be changing to having automated collection. And one of the problems that you have with automated collection is nobody's out there to see what kind of bags are going in the containers. So right now we're observing 2 municipalities that are going through that switch over who had pay-as-you-throw. The city of Concord's trying a pilot program with pay-as-you-throw system for their collection services. And in 2027, the city of Dover is going to be rescinding their pay-as-you-throw system for automated collections. That the money saved through automation will cover the cost of solid waste. One of the problems, the other big concerns, is that a pay-as-you-throw system also encouraged recycling because you don't want to put things in general stream because it costs you more. So that's one of the other reasons. We're going to have a number of years, probably we're going to have about 3 years until we have to implement that. So Casella and the town are going to be working on that the next few years to see what we can do. And finally, the one that you just amended the budget for, I hope the council will approve a resolution this Wednesday evening to have a warrant article contribute $1,348,203 to multiple capital reserve funds. There will be no impact on the tax rate, but there will be an impact on the water and sewer rates. And that is all I have.
Steve, any questions, comments? I know that we've had our question session previously, but just anybody in the audience, or
I have one.
Chris, you've got one?
Open the public hearing.
Yeah.
I have one.
Oh.
You mentioned that the MRI is doing an analysis of the fire department.
Yep.
What's the kind of time frame do you have on how long that report might take, or when the report might be
Spring.
available? Springtime?
Yep.
Well, that's condensed.
Yeah. They've, about, I want to say, 10 years ago, we did a town-wide study, so they have a lot of that already done. So
Gotcha.
they're just going to be updating that and doing a more in-depth one. A few years ago, we did a more in-depth one of community development when we had a number of retirements in our
Okay.
department. And just coincidentally, we're going to be doing fire this time.
Gotcha, so just targeted right there.
Yep.
Spring, done, boom, bam.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Steve. Okay. Todd, should we do the schools?
Yeah, I was just going to say, officially, you need to open up the public hearing, ask the public if there's any comments, and then close the public hearing, and then the school can go up.
Apologize, thank you.
While
So,
you're doing that, I'll plug in.
6:59, we'll open up the public hearing. If there's any questions or comments? And getting no questions or comments, we'll close the public hearing at 7 o'clock.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it.
They fixed the clock.
Oh.
I think they fixed the
We
clock.
did.
7.
Okay, well, good evening. Thank you for hosting me for the public hearing on the school budget. What I'm about to go through with you is a lot of the material that I've already briefed you on over the last few presentations, with a few added pieces for the warrant that the board is planning to move forward with this year. So I wanted to kind of walk that through with you. And while I'm at it, I'm just going to take the opportunity to treat this like a public service announcement. The first warrant on our warrant every year is electing all of our officers, and the filing period for people interested in running starts January 21st and runs through January 30th. We currently have opening for district moderator, clerk, treasurer, and 1 school board seat. So if there's any people out there who are civic-minded and interested in being involved in the school district, please be aware of that. We jump right to the biggie, the operating budget for the district. And this is the language that has already been vetted through our attorney for our warrant. I do want to highlight one thing before I get into reading the warrant to you. You'll notice that there's a bullet prior to the warrant that states the average cost per pupil for preceding year as calculated in accordance with RSA 189.75 1A is $23,631. ELA proficiency is 67%, math proficiency 51%, and science proficiency 48%. You're looking at, and you're probably thinking it's a little bit out of context, but this is required by law that it be on the ballot. So this is, so just understand that it's there. And I can't give any context in the ballot booth, but I can give you some context as I'm talking to you. Our per pupil cost, as I've explained to you in the past, has been on a downward trajectory compared to the state, and I have a slide in a minute that I will share with you. I would also point out that our ELA proficiency, math proficiency, and science proficiency are all 10 to 12% higher than state average. So just something to be aware of. And while I'm at it, I'll mention that our high school has been voted by U.S. News and World Report as one of the top high schools in the state the last 3 years. So, so from a performance standpoint, I just want to highlight that for you. So, the operating budget. Shall the Newmarket School District vote to raise and appropriate as an operating budget, not including appropriations by special warrant articles and other appropriations voted separately, the amount set forth on the budget posted with the warrant, or is amended by the vote of the first session for the purposes set forth therein, totaling $30,547,370. Should this article be defeated, the default budget is $30,089,915, which is the same as last year with certain adjustments required by previous action. And you'll notice it says not final. That's because we are still in the process of calculating to get the exact number, but that's roughly correct. With certain adjustments required by previous actions of the school district, or the governing body may hold a special meeting in accordance with RSA 40, 10, and 16 to take up the issue of a revised operating budget. Only a majority vote is required. So that's the biggie that makes up, as Steve pointed out, the 72% of the tax rate. 66% is local, 6% is state tax. A couple of things to be aware of. This does not include $400,000 of estimated grant revenue, as well as $454,000 for food service revenues, which brings it down to $693,058, which is the amount that's collected for our tax rate. What that translates into is a tax rate of $14.84, which is 88 cents more than last year. Last year, as Steve pointed out, the total between the state and the local school tax was $13.96. With the new proposed budget that's in front of you, it would be $14.84. Our default projection, it would be an increase of 61 cents on the thousand, or a tax rate of $14.57. Just some basic stuff to remind you of. This slide I showed you when I presented the budget. And by the way, for anybody watching at home and any of you who are interested, on our website, in fact, the home page, there's a link to the budget narrative. There's a 34-page document that people can feel free to read at your leisure that goes through all of this stuff and how the budget was arrived at. But this slide is the summary of the entire thing. You see in the lower right-hand corner, 4.35%. That is the percent up of the total budget for a total of $1,272,979. Things to be aware of. Clearly want to know where the money's going. A large portion of our money in the district goes to salaries and benefits of our staff, not surprisingly. 24% goes to operations, and debt service is about 7.5%, although this chart shows that it's 7% because we have a $2.1 million bond payment every year for the wonderful $39 million school that was renovated by the town a few years ago. I like to remind people of that because it doesn't go away. It continues to be a function in our budget. But that's where the money goes. Give you some historical perspective. Last year, you can see we had a 1.97% increase. What's important to understand there, that did not include the cost of the teacher's contract, which the voters did approve. When you include the cost of the teacher's contract, that adds $700,000 in cost to it, and that actually brings last year's budget up to 4.41%. So you can see that 24-25 and 26-27 are at 4.35. Last year was 4.41, so we're pretty flat over the last 3 years. As I mentioned before, the warrant now requires us to have information on cost per pupil. I give you this slide. Again, this was in the materials that I gave you the last time I presented, but I think it's important to give context to cost per pupil. And as you can see, the Newmarket cost per pupil is closing in on the state average. And the right-hand column that shows that if you remove the bond debt, you can see the last few years, the Newmarket per pupil cost is actually less on average than the state average. This year's state numbers are still not available. Your guess is as good as mine as to when they will make those available. Questions about Article 2? Stunned silence. I like it. All right. Moving on to Article 3. This was a new one for you. I mentioned it to you, and it's made reference to it at multiple places in the budget narrative. We are in the process. There we go. We were in negotiations with our paraprofessionals union this year for a new contract, and so we have just recently, in fact, December 22nd, the board voted to ratify the proposed agreement, and the union voted the end of the previous week, just before the holidays. It's a 4-year agreement, and the warrant is presented as follows. Shall the district vote to approve the cost items included in the collective bargaining agreement reached between the Newmarket School Board and the Newmarket Support Staff Association, which calls for the following increases in salary and benefits at the current staffing levels over those paid in the prior fiscal year. 26-27, an increase of $134,042 $3. 27-28, $92,135. 28-29, $76,155, and 29-30, $69,675, and further to raise and appropriate the sum of $134,043 for the upcoming fiscal year. Such sum representing additional cost attributable to the increase in salaries and benefits required by the new agreement over what would have been paid at current staffing levels. The net estimated tax impact would be 8 cents. And a majority vote is required. Just to give you some highlights of the contract, it is a 4-year agreement. It involves a 4% COLA over the 4 years of the agreement. It increases longevity by 25 cents an hour. Increases differentials for advanced training and coursework. One of the things that we find, we have an increasingly complex student population, and so additional training is often required from paras to work with kids with various behavioral challenges, and this incentivizes that training. Increases the number of paid holidays to bring the para group in line with all other employees in the district. Incentivizes the accumulation of sick time by allowing people to accumulate it and then potentially, if they have enough, to have it as a payout at the end of their career, potentially as a severance package. But obviously, it benefits the district when people come to work. And so having people not maximize the use of their time is a benefit to the district. It also increases PD reimbursements for staff, and the union also accepted changes to our health care. I've mentioned this to you before. We've had some major challenges with health care the last couple of years, and they have agreed to switch to the School Care 2.0 plan, which does involve a slight increase in contributions on the part of the employee, as well as the employer, by the way. It's everybody's paying more, but it is an increased cost to them. So with that, any questions on Article 3? Yes.
For the support staff contract, offers professional development reimbursement for staff pursuing advanced training. Is there, how is that? Is that allocated, or is there just a kitty and you apply and the supervisor would say, yes, you're interested in that student? That.
Basically what we're using the UNH continuing ed rate, $314 per credit hour. And so what we are offering is the equivalent of 4 credits per year for anybody who chooses to pursue it, which is about $1,256. Our experience, our teacher contract has a similar provision, which is a slightly higher threshold. What typically happens is somewhere between 25 and 30% of the people actually access it on any given year. So the first year we'll have to make some calculated estimates.
Yeah.
But once we get into a cycle, we'll budget to the actual amount that people want. In the teacher contract, we have a provision that people notify us in advance of whether they're intending to take courses, and that way we can know going into budget development what the exact number is. So it'll probably take us a year or two to get to a place where we have an exact number, but we'll be able to budget very accurately for it.
But a person in the support staff arena there could say, I'm not taking a course through the UNH offerings, but through their professional development for educators.
Correct.
It's a $125 thing. It's a one-day thing about
Correct.
Spectrum.
It's for the allocation is using the credit per credit
Oh,
rate,
gotcha. Okay.
but the money fits into anything that would be in their professional development plan. A good example of that, like if we need somebody to do RBT training,
Yeah.
our ability to be able to provide them that training and so forth, to send them to do that. There are a number of various credentials. We have a number of paras who are pursuing the Para 1 credentialing, and to be able to pay to do the courses and stuff to do that. So yeah, it's coursework, yes, but anything that's going to advance their skill set and help benefit the school district and the kids.
So it's more like there's a kitty of money allocated ideally for each person, and they nibble away at it with the approval of Christine or
Correct.
somebody. Okay.
Yeah, there's a whole process they would go through. Keep in mind, this is new for paras because it's
Yeah.
always been there in the teacher world. What we're trying to do, and actually this was motivated, we had one a para educator who sort of piloted this on her own without, going through the SNU teacher training program. They have a program that's aimed at in-service para-educators getting teacher credentials.
Oh, nice.
And so
yeah.
one of the things that we were hoping to be able to do was to create an avenue that paras who come to work for us who had aspirations of something more would be motivated to pursue that. Because one of the things that we continue to have trouble getting enough para educators. There's a real shortage out there. And being able to have people come with a career mindset might actually give us a leg up on some of the other districts that are not providing that. So that was the thinking.
Or just caution to say paras pursuing something different rather than something more.
I'm not sure I understand the
Oh.
distinction.
That's okay, never mind, okay.
Yeah, we encourage them to grow as professionals.
There you go.
Okay. All right, any other questions? Yes?
Probably just my inability to parse language here. Increases longevity by 25 cents per hour. Like, help me, I don't understand what that means.
So basically the way longevity is calculated, depending on the number of years, once you've gotten to 6 years, you get an extra 50 cents an hour. So
I
it
gotcha.
go up to
Okay.
75 cents an hour. Once you get to 10 years, it goes up incrementally. And across the board, it was a 25-cent increase in all levels of longevity.
Understood, okay.
Yep, okay. All right, anything else on that? Okay, the next article, really, it's just, this will appear on the warrant. In the event that the para contract fails, this is a warrant that asks the permission to hold a special meeting to deal with cost items on that contract. So that's a standard practice. Article 5, this ties into the health insurance issue that I was just describing to you. We have a warrant, and this actually, Article 5 and 6, the board had quite a bit of kind of strategy discussion, if you will, on how to go about funding these things. In the past, you may recall that all of our warrant articles were out of year-end fund balance, so they effectively had no impact on the tax rate. That wasn't possible this year in order to be able to fully support the things that we wanted to be able to do. So Article 5 is about the Insurance and Benefits Expendable Trust Fund. So shall the district vote to raise and appropriate $150,000 to be added to the Insurance and Benefits Expendable Trust Fund previously established for the purpose of unanticipated insurance and employee benefits expenses, and further to authorize the use of this amount from the June 30 fund balance available for transfer July 1, no amount to be raised by taxation, majority of vote required. So this one is being done the way we always have historically done it. In FY26, just to remind you, the district we did receive some significant unanticipated health insurance costs. We got an assessment for $417,962 from our health care provider. In order to pay that off, we have depleted our Insurance and Benefits Expendable Trust Fund. There was $132,000 in it, so basically it effectively wiped it out. So this article is an intent to put that money back in. I'd love to be able to stand here and tell you there'll be no unexpected insurance costs next year, but I can't do that. And so this is really an attempt to be able to replenish those funds. But again, this one is being done out of the year-end fund balance. So what that means is when we get to the end of the year, the money that's left over, usually we're in this 800,000-ish range, this amount of money will be taken out of that and deposited for that fund. But again, it will not raise additional tax dollars. Any questions about Article 5?
Is that context in the second paragraph going to show up on the actual vote itself, or what are you doing to disseminate that?
We cannot put we can't put those kind of notes on the warrant. I will include it at the deliberative session when I explain it, and in all of our communications to the community, we will make that clear. But this does not actually show up on the ballot.
Is that like health issues that people have for the unanticipated?
Well, what happened was we are part of an insurance pool, and there are, I believe, 90 school districts across the state that are in our insurance pool. What happened was there was a significantly higher number of people that had high medical needs, not necessarily just in Newmarket, across the pool, to the tune of about a $30 million cost overrun from the school care, our fund. So they had to replenish their reserves, and the assessment came to replenish the reserves. So yes, there was an increased utilization of health benefits. The insurance companies, and it's not just our insurance company, all of them saw an increase in utilization. Coming out of the pandemic, what they found was a lot of people started really accessing their healthcare providers more regularly again, and there were health issues that had either been put off being dealt with or whatever, and costs went up. So across the insurance industry, there was a big spike in costs during the 23, 24, and 24, 25 years. We hope this is a one-time thing and it returns. For 30 years, school care this is the first time they've ever had to do an additional assessment. They usually go the other way and they return money to school districts. And that's been more likely to happen. But unfortunately, given the uncertainty of healthcare right now, it's hard to, I can't look in the eye and tell you this won't
Yeah.
happen again. To be clear about the original intent of the Insurance and Benefits Trust Fund, it actually wasn't so much about covering the assessment as it was when people sign up for insurance. We don't enroll in our insurance plans until April and May. And when if we hire a new teacher in the spring for next year, if the person who served in that job was a single person with a very inexpensive benefit plan, and we hire somebody who's got a family and they take a family plan, the cost of that is dramatically different. This fund was to help us guard against the uncertainty of people switching plan choices, because all it takes is one person to go from, in fact, this happened this year. We had an employee who was taking a payout to not take our insurance, which was $500, and they were on their spouse's insurance. Their spouse lost their insurance. They came to us and said, okay, I need a family plan now. So we go from paying someone $500 to not take our insurance to paying about $40,000 to cover their insurance. So that was the original intent, was to deal with those kind of situations. Unfortunately, the health assessment really caught us off guard this time around, and we had to wipe it out.
How do my line's on? I'm just curious. So it's
I think
only
I think we have 2 more articles and we'll open the public forum.
That's good. Thanks, sorry.
Oh, no problem.
Okay. Any other questions from? Okay, that's Article 5. Okay, Article 6 is, as I've mentioned to you many times, we have a capital maintenance plan that we developed 3 years ago, and we have historically funded it by putting $200,000 from the year-end fund balance into the account every year. And that, like this past year, we spent about $400,000 on roof repairs and finishing window projects at the elementary school. The board did not feel, given the tightness of our budget this year and our need to cover that health insurance assessment, that we could have both warrant articles come out of the year-end fund balance, because we really want to be able to be stable in the amount of year-end fund balance that we return to the taxpayers. Typically, we return about $500,000 to offset taxes. So the board did not feel comfortable having this as a fund balance article, and so it's worded to be a raise and appropriate article, meaning it would add to the tax cost. So the article is, shall the district vote to raise and appropriate $100,000 to be added to the school improvement capital reserve fund previously established for the purpose of improving, expanding, maintaining, renovating, furnishing, and equipping school buildings. This recommendation is in accordance with the Newmarket School Capital Improvement Plan 2025 to 43, approved by the Newmarket School Board on August 1st, 2024. And by the way, they reapprove it every year when we have revised and updated, so they have approved it again since this time. The estimated tax impact of this article will be 6 cents on the thousand, and again, majority of vote is required. Questions on Article 6? And then Article 7 is not a fund article, cost article, but I'll mention it since I'm using it as a public service announcement opportunity. The board will be putting forward an article on the terms of elected officers. One of the things that's been an issue in a small town, the same people do all the same jobs. So the town clerk and the school district clerk is the same person. The town moderator and the school district moderator is the same person. What has been struggling is the terms have not been in sync with each other. So we have had 1-year terms, the town has had 2-year terms, and so they feel like they're constantly having to run. So we're trying to get ourselves in line with the town's terms. So this warrant article proposes changing our elected officers' terms to 2 years to align with the town. So with that, I'll take any other questions that might be, or You want to open it up to the public hearing? I can answer those questions.
Start here.
Yeah, and then,
I have one question. Going back to Article 6, please. Probably going to be very difficult for this one to pass, just so that, hopefully it does. But can you do one that says we're going to use from the fund balance and one that's not going to use from the fund balance?
Yes.
So you could basically have an Article 6A
Oh,
and
you see-
6B or something like that. So if this didn't pass, but there was a fund balance that was at a number that you felt, that the school board felt comfortable with, then they could take that.
Yes, you could.
Okay.
The one thing, and the way it works, the way the law works, is the order that things are on the ballot is the priority that they go in. So if you have multiple articles that use the fund balance, the first one on the ballot is going to get fully funded, and as you work your way down, if there's no fund balance left, they aren't funded. What the board was concerned about is not wanting to diminish the fund balance to a point that was so much lower that it showed up in a tax impact on Newmarket. Because, for example, this year, we returned $482,000 to the taxpayers at the end of the year, which effectively reduced everybody's taxes by about 30 cents, okay? And our concern, if we took too much from the fund balance, we were concerned we wouldn't have a viable fund balance left to maintain offsetting that tax rate. And so they felt the risk. And the other thing to keep in mind with our capital reserve funds is we have a multi-year plan. We reduced the contribution to 100,000, knowing that if we didn't, we recognize what you said is true, that people may say, well, no, on this one. We hope they won't, because we do feel our capital plan is really valuable. But we do have enough in our reserve funds that wouldn't impact us immediately, and we could make an adjustment in a future year. And I think that was our strategy, was that the other thing, which I always love to give a shout out to our trustees of the trust funds, because it's not exactly the job that gets a lot of shout outs, but they have done a fantastic job managing our funds over the last year. So our interest on our investments has been significantly higher. And so when we looked at that, we had more money in the fund than we had anticipated having, because we had made about $40,000 last year just in interest alone, which is a lot more than we were making before.
Thank you for that.
Any other questions or comments from the committee for Todd? Okay. Then at 7:26, we'll open the public forum for the school. Are there any questions or comments from the public?
I just want to open up by saying I have two.
sorry, you,
Sorry.
yeah. And also, we just need to say your name and your street.
Okay. Casey Fontaine, Lady Slipper Drive. I have two kids in the system. I have my youngest one coming through the system eventually. I love everything about Newmarket and the schooling, and the teachers are amazing. I have nothing to say bad about it. I just feel like we're not having hard conversations now that are going to create really detrimental conversations in the future. So I feel like we're doing things to Band-Aid, but we're not taking care of what the real issue is, as opposed to drawing a hard line in tax rates, and we're going to increase 9 cents here. There's been, in the 10 years I've been here, I've seen and most people I'm sure have seen their tax rate increase astronomically. I love that we're putting money into the school. I think that that's where we gain a lot of traction, because I see a lot in the sports. The rec department is an amazing thing, which gets in my opinion, not enough funds. But I just think that if we keep saying yes, 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 6 cents here, 9 cents there, and not addressing the actual problem of where the problem is, and we're just saying yes, like that person that took a $500 cash out on their insurance to turn around in the next week say I need $40,000, I would, as a self-employed person, I feel that pain. Marketplace is insane for insurance. Insurance is a hard thing to come by, and I appreciate what you're doing for the faculty, because they're doing it for our kids, right? So I am on board, but I don't want to be doing 6 cents, 6 cents, 29 cents, 49 cents, 89 cents, and now my tax rate, I mean, we're at what, 28 and change in Newmarket compared to surrounding towns other than Durham. I mean, everyone's pretty low in their tax rate, and I understand that that's residual from the new elementary or the new junior, senior high school, which I fully support. But now we're like, you know, we're talking about the roof on the elementary school and 100% needed. But why wasn't that, again, we're putting Band-Aids before when we could have been packaging this all and looking to the future. So I'm just hoping as a council, you all look more to the future and not when your time is up here. Because again, I love Newmarket. Been here since 2014. I want to be here for a long time. But I don't want to vote for things that won't be long-term. I don't want to put Band-Aids on bullet holes, right? In the words of great Taylor Swift.
I mean, I would just start by saying I hear exactly what he's saying. There's no question that there has been an upward trajectory in costs and in public education. One of the things that I think is often lost, though, is if you look, and I don't have that slide with me tonight, but it is in the budget narrative that I shared with you guys previously, and it's in the budget narrative online. It shows the historical contribution we've gotten from our state and federal government to support education. And what's happened over that same time period is all of the state and federal funds have either been flat or gone down. And so the alternative is, okay, we got to raise the money somehow, and that is where I think it shows up in the tax rate. And so what has happened, certainly in my 4 years here in Newmarket, going on 5, is you are definitely seeing a shifting of the burden that is more and more local. And I share your fear that if at some point something doesn't change the system in a way that figures out how we're going to pay for this stuff, it is very, very impactful on Newmarket taxpayers. So I completely understand what you're saying. We are very actively trying to manage our per pupil cost in a way that gets to a place where it is more in line with, and actually our per pupil cost is significantly lower than surrounding districts. And I think one of the things that is a reality in the Seacoast is the cost of living in Newmarket is high regardless of what profession you are in. Mm-hmm. So when you're talking about paying salaries that will bring teachers and educators in, you have to pay a competitive salary so they can afford to live and work in your town, because that's good. That's good for the school. That's why I think the schools are as good as they are. You got people who love this place and want to be here. And I think it's that tug. The capital articles, I just would say, I know this town, before my time, went through a lengthy struggle on what to do with our school buildings and arrived at a solution that I think was a good one, but it has been a financial impact and continues to be. The capital improvement plan was really aimed at trying to maintain those facilities to the level that they were when we paid the $39 million to renovate them. We want to keep them that way so that we don't come back to the taxpayers with another very large facilities investment. And so that is really why it's there, but I don't disagree that repair and maintenance on schools is expensive, and at some point there might have to be some pullback on those things.
And this wasn't aimed at the school system. I think it was more so I apologize. It's the town as a whole. Like that's where, whether it be sewer and I mean just maintenance. I just feel like we're doing things for next year to say yes, as opposed to doing and thinking and putting our minds together to figure out what the 10-year plan is. And unfortunately, that's the issue with what we're facing, is that everybody thinks about what next year's budget is and next year's budget, but I think it needs to be a longer term idea. Because again, if my property is assessed for 40% more than it was 2 years ago, that's why you see the numbers between 23 and 25 shifting. because you guys had such a surplus amount of dollars, because everybody was taxed an insane amount more money, which again, it was all in the budget and we agree, but then all of a sudden we get that secret bill in the spring that is, or, you know, it's, oh wait, here's a deficiency that it's because we're saying yes and we're not taking a hold of what needs to be taken a hold of, and that's communication and everybody understanding and being on the same page. And that's, again, I love this town, I love the school, I love the rec, I love everything about it, but if this is going to succeed and we want to bring more people in, right? Like that's the idea. If we're going to bring more people in, we need to think about what's next after, not this year, but next year. So again, my conversation, my feedback wasn't about the school system, it was about the town as a whole, because I believe in the school system in Newmarket. That's why I've been here for 10 years, and I will continue to be here because I fully support what you're doing. So,
And actually, just as a comment, the Charter Commission that Steve talked about actually spent a lot of time talking about how to harness some of those efforts and find more ways for the town and the school district to work together to identify priorities and so forth. So it's certainly, I think that's part of what that's all about.
and that's that long.
Yep.
Sorry, this is a very important conversation. Just procedurally, we try not to do like just back and forth. Just so, as everyone said, if we can have conversations after this, and I would like to talk to you after, but like it just, if there was a lot of people, we wouldn't allow this. That's all. So,
Sorry.
no. I'm glad someone came.
First time.
Yeah, no. That's great. Good for you for coming. You just, yeah.
Absolutely. I just want to stress, like, so appreciate you coming and sharing this, and I think this is really important for everybody here and for us to talk about. So thank you for coming and sharing this. And,
Anything else for me?
all right.
So next week, you'll be voting on recommendations on the articles, correct?
Yes, I'm just going to, close the public forum formally here at 7:35, sorry. And yes, next week we'll be voting on the budgets and the articles. And yeah, if there is if it doesn't, we'll go do a reconsideration, and the dissenting party will have to present a reconsideration, but hopefully everything passed okay, and we'll be good.
All right, thank you.
Todd, thank you so much.
Make the motion that goes to public hearing, or?
Just a motion. Okay. Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
I will make the motion.
Okay.
I'll
Motion
second.
by Brian Ward, seconded by Jeff Boyd. Thank you. So I think then from, oh, sorry. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Unanimously approved, thank you. Apologize. Okay, so.